Okay, hello out there. Hey, Expose, welcome to my latest Buyee unboxing live stream. It just so happened that my latest Buyee order was supposed to coincide with the end of last month, which coincides with the live stream that we usually have. So I was gonna just do Buyee unboxing live stream instead of just chit-chatting about nothing in particular live stream. So, yeah, it was nice techno-Japanese rice farmer music expose. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else is here. Nobody's speaking up. Doesn't say anything more for participants. So we'll see if usual suspects show up or not. It's a Sunday night, so I mean, what have you, whatever. But yeah, I got to, sorry, grab some other stuff here as well. So, yeah, oh, hey, the bride is here, Queen is here. Hello, 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 welcome. Usual suspects, the gang is all here. Well, just about. Still a few more, I suppose, have to show up. Rex, Doug, etc. before the full gang is all here. But yeah. Hey, movie addict, welcome, welcome. But yeah, so mainly by unboxing, although I did pick up a few things today as well, as the bride and I hit up some flea markets and farmers markets and things like that, including picked up this. Well, so a hardcover of sorry, Dick Briefer's Frankenstein comic from the 40s and 50s here. So $10. So not to pass it up. Some classic horror comic stuff there. So oh no. So managed to pick up that today. That was fun. And found for an affordable price, somehow or other, the Dimagine Blu-ray, finally. I mean, obviously, I have seen all the movies because I did a video about them, but finally able to find the Blu-rays for a price that I was willing to pay. In fact, $50 Canadian. Hooray! Which usually around here, this set goes for like 120 bucks, so wasn't going to pass up $50. So picked that up today. Hooray! Hi, Kaiser. Welcome. And Expose just finished From the Earth to the Moon. Excellent. What, other than what you enjoyed it, what did you think of From the Earth to the Moon? Because that's actually my favorite Verne novel. So, yeah, this is by Matt Frank, the kaiju artist extraordinaire. Does a lot of Godzilla comics, stuff like that. And they got him to do the cover here for the Dimagine box set from Arrow. So, which is pretty darn nice. Dimagine is worth it. Dimagine is, well, if you know from watching my video on it, Dimagine is my favorite non-Toho kaiju. So I know for most people it's like Gamera, but for me it's Dimagine. I love the combo of the Tokusatsu and the Jitageki, the historical drama. I'm actually even surprised they only made 3 movies for Dimagine because you could just take like any Jitageki movie that involves people being oppressed and wanting like justice and revenge, and just plop Dimagine in at the end, and you have a Dimagine movie. So, um, but yeah, I love that combination of the feudal Japanese samurai epic with a giant monster in it. So, very glad to be picking up Dimagine. Didn't they use a giant cannon to get to the moon in the Verne novel? Correct. Yes. Did he use a giant cannon? Because Verne was trying to figure out what's the how would you. He wanted to write a novel about space and space travel and the moon. And how do you get people out there? Well, the best technology he had available to him was the concept of a giant cannon and shoot a capsule that is actually roughly the same size as the actual lunar module from like the Apollo program. Um, Shoot that out of a gun, right? Now in Verne, in From the Earth to the Moon, the cannon was actually just a gigantic hole in the ground, but most visualizations of it have been like as an actual like above ground cannon. So like Georges Méliès, who just did a video on his A Trip to the Moon, this is a giant cannon. At Disneyland Paris, their Space Mountain was originally based on From the Earth to the Moon. Now it's got a stupid Star Wars overlay, but that is a beautiful visualization of the cannon that they use on that Space Mountain. So, like I love that. That would have made me want a Disney From the Earth to the Moon movie 20 years ago. So, alas. Um, Barry Munchausen got to the moon because of a storm. Yeah, yeah. Actually, my favorite method was Cyrano de Bergerac's methods. So first he tries dew, right? Bottles of dew, because dew rises in the morning, right? So he thought if he can bottle dew, then it will rise and it'll take him with him to the moon. But he only gets so far, and because the Earth rotates underneath him, he ends up landing in Quebec. And when he's in Quebec, he builds a rocket that gets him to the moon. Yeah, love and have the Imagine set. Yeah, I've been looking forward to getting it. Like I said, I've seen the movies. I've got copies that I might have on my hard drive. But I'm glad to actually have physical copies now, because always physical copies. Always get physical media, because you never know what will happen to streaming, what will happen to other sources you might find it online, and what will happen to your hard drive. So always have backups. Always have physical copies. A cannon would have turned the crew to paste. Yeah, well, a cannon wouldn't have worked. You can't reach escape velocity from the Earth from a cannon. Um, Although there has been talk over the last like 25 years about basically using a giant rail gun to shoot payloads into orbit. So, um, I liked how most of the book isn't the characters on the moon, but how everyone is reacting on Barbican and the Gun Club's idea, plus some actual impressive accuracy for science. Yeah, I love the book because it is hilarious. From the Earth to the Moon is actually like a satire of American society that is like I think like on par with something like Mark Twain would write. And Jules Verne being my favorite author and Mark Twain being my second favorite. So there you go. Yeah, like like just even the opening chapter of the Baltimore Gun Club carbonizing their various limbs, complaining about how there's no more wars going on right now, while the book is describing all the limbs they've lost. Is just like mwah, just peak satire. Love it. Um, like the way they got Dorothy to Oz. Yeah, the weather there. All right, so that's some of the stuff I bought today, but I have a gigantic box of stuff from Buyee, which is about the only stuff that I can buy right now, um, because that's actually a favorable exchange rate. So if you don't mind me getting political right off the bat, as of yesterday, uh, the new U.S. administration's tariffs on goods from Canada came into effect, and on Tuesday, our government is retaliating with equal and opposite tariffs. So everything from the United States is going to get even more expensive, as if the exchange rate wasn't bad enough. Like looking at it yesterday, I looked at it yesterday. I was looking up some stuff on eBay and then looked at the price, like holy crap. As of yesterday, one Canadian dollar will buy you 106 Japanese yen, so it's actually favorable compared to the yen, and 68 cents American. And in fact, after you take the sort of eBay how they do conversion, then it's basically like 50%. So like something on eBay that costs $10 American will cost me $15 Canadian. If it costs $50 American, then it will cost me $75 Canadian. So that was bad enough. And then shipping on top of that. Like shipping can actually be a markup of like 300 to 400%. If something costs like $5 to ship within the United States, it will cost me like $20 to ship it to Canada. And I've had more than a few things where the shipping was actually more than the item itself was. And so now on top of that, then you add this tariff, right? So okay, and then the shipping, right, is 200, like 300 to 400% markup, and then another 50% on top of that, right? So that $20 shipping now becomes $30 shipping on an item that was $50 American, is now $75 Canadian. And now tariffs on top of all that. So it's like, I don't think I'm going to be buying a whole lot from the United States while this little trade war is going on. Still love America. Still love you guys. You're great. Just I wish we didn't have a trade war on our doorstep here, because I didn't get the NECA Art of Bay figure yet. And I want to get that. And I don't want to pay. I mean, NECA figures already are like $60 to $70 Canadian for figures that are like, what, $20 to $30 US if you go get them at Walmart. So it's just like, oh my god, it's a nightmare. It does make me glad though that I don't have my store anymore, because I had my store where I sold like retro monster and horror and sci-fi kitsch stuff. And like all of my merch came from the United States. So like I was imagining trying to navigate these tariffs and having to mark up like all of my stuff like 25%. It would just be like that would kill it. If I didn't already close it, that would kill it on its own. So I'm actually kind of glad that I got out of business before that happened. Just kind of comments here. Barnabas says, "What about the H.G. Wells? He came with Cavorite. Yeah, well, Cavorite was just magic to get his characters to the moon, so he could make a mean-spirited social commentary on society." They made a movie about From the Earth to the Moon. Unfortunately, it was forgettable. Yeah. Well, there's a couple movies. There is the straightforward adaptation with George Sanders, and then there was the screwball comedy one of Jules Verne's Rocket to the Moon, which was shot in Britain, and it has like Burl Ives in it, and oh shoot, what was his name? Dude who was also in From the Earth to the Moon, playing Professor Caver. I can't remember his name right now, but he's in that one as well. And that one's the better of the two because it's at least funny-ish. My next read is probably going to be On War by Karl von Clausewitz. Basically, the art of war, but it's written by a 19th century Prussian general. Exchange rates and stuff are too confusing. Nah, no kidding. Time to hit the first shops in the bookstores. You bet. Yeah, that's what I did earlier. As I was showing off, like finding that at the flea market and stuff. Yeah. So, but I mean, luckily for Buyee, Japanese, the yen is favorable. Not as favorable as it was, which I mean is good for Japan because if the yen took any more of a dive, they would be in real trouble. It's bad enough that their dollar's pretty much on par with ours. Anyways, let's start breaking into this thing, right? Lionel Jeffries, thank you, Kaiser. If I can get this open, I can't put this on my lap, can I? Ugh. I want to show off my address to everybody. There goes the Hunchback. He is always taking a dive because he's right behind me. All right, come on. Come to Monster Kid Corey for engaging content of me opening boxes off camera. Okay. There we go. The camera just like died out there. Where did? Okay. Hunchback keeps falling. Quasimodo, get back up there. There we go. All right. Okay, so let's see what we got. I mean, I know what I got, but let's see what order we do this in. Love your base motel sign. Thank you. Yeah, that's I think that's a Spirit Halloween thing. I actually bought it off somebody off of Facebook Marketplace. So, okay, first up, the thing that nobody cares about, Galaxy Express 3.9, my favorite anime. If you have not seen Galaxy Express 3.9, do so. It is by the amazing Leiji Matsumoto, also creator of Captain Harlock, Queen Emeraldas, Star Blazers, aka Space Battleship Yamato, etc. But his thing that I love the most is the Galaxy Express 3.9 TV series. And I did do a video on the most essential episodes to watch. There's 113 episodes in the series, lasted 3 years. But I broke it down to like 36 episodes that are sort of like the must-watch if you want to get the sort of the gist of the whole series. And I saw this on Buyee for like $5. So I'm like, sure, why not? But it's a diecast of the train, of the 3.9 train itself. And it even comes with a passenger car. There's a train that threw through space without tracks. Yes. Yeah. So the story for Galaxy Express 3.9 is that it's in the future when humans, wealthy humans are replacing their bodies with cyborg bodies and with machine bodies. And poor humans can't. And poor humans are basically like hunted for sport and stuff and live in poverty on Earth, like desperate poverty. And there's this boy, Tetsuro, who dreams of going on the Galaxy Express 3.9, taking that train through space to go to the planet where they give away robot bodies for free. And he gets picked up by this mysterious woman named Mytel. And they go on this journey that lasts like 3 years, 113 episodes. And basically, it is an aching character drama on what it means to be human and what you would lose by becoming a machine. What happens when you can't die anymore? What does that do to you? What happens when you lose your soul, when you lose your weaknesses, all that sort of stuff, and what that does to you? And yeah, I mean, it's one of those anime that's like, sad is happy for deep people. That's what Galaxy Express 39 is. That's why I love it. So yeah, on this cool little die cast, although half of it's like plastic, but this die cast model of the 39 right here, TV series version. There was a feature film version as well. They tried to turn it into a space opera, but it doesn't really work as a space opera. It's better as a aching, melancholic character drama. But yeah, and involves a steam train that flies through space. So hooray! Plus, I have like a weird collection of like Japanese trains, like steam train stuff. Because when I went to Japan back in 2009, I picked up steam train stuff wherever I could. The D51, the C62, and then like just the other day, actually, we were at a Japanese store here in town, Japanese imports, and picked up this like water squirter. So, yeah. Anyways, like Japanese trains. And probably because, well, in part because I just like antiquated travel. I like steam trains. I like steamships, zeppelins, whatever. But also like 39. So, through space of tracks. I got King Kong 1933. It's high and War on a Friday. And everyone complimented me on it. It's high. Nice. Good job, Expose. There's stock footage from Galaxy Express in the movie Gamera Super Monster. Is there? He wanted revenge because someone killed his family. Well, yes. His mom got hunted for sport. And so he manages to kill the guy who did it in the first episode. So, and then escaped on the 39. The kid in Galaxy Express acted more like an adult in many episodes. Yeah, well, I mean, it's his whole growth from being a kid to being an adult, right? So, all right, so got that out of the way. Next, what is this one? Dun, 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 dun. Aha, pin. Oh, I didn't bring down my pin board. I was going to do that. Right, so I made this realization as well. Because normally on Buyee, I'm just looking for like mainly like King Kong stuff, sometimes kaiju stuff. But I had this like realization, which I'm surprised it took me that long, which is that, oh wait, I could buy stuff from like Tokyo Disney Sea on Buyee. People buying souvenirs from Tokyo Disney. And this past year was the 23rd anniversary of Tokyo Disney Sea. And at Tokyo Disney Sea, they have my two favorite rides in any Disney park anywhere in the world: 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Journey to the Center of the Earth, Jules Verne, right? And their 23rd anniversary campaign was based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So let me adjust this here. So I picked up some of the merch for that, including this pin right here. Oh, and I think I hear the bride coming to bring a pin board, maybe? Did she bring the right one? She did bring the right one. Excellent, thank you. So, one of my collections, I haven't shown it off, one of my collections is Disney pins for Jules Verne stuff. But they have to have the characters on it. So, as you can see here, here's the Disneyland, no, here's the Disneyland Paris pins. So the Disneyland Paris Space Mountain, the Le Visionarium, which isn't there anymore, Constellations is the old store that was there, Mysteries of the Nautilus, it's right there, Panorama Magique, there, the Orbitron there, with like Goofy and Donald and stuff like that. These are my Disney Sea pins right here. So that's the gift shop right there. There's 20,000 Leagues. There's Journey to the Center of the Earth. And then Mysterious Island. Well, Mysterious Island is the land, well, the port where those rides are. And then, well, here's just some general pins of Disney characters as 20,000 Leagues characters. And then this is Disney World right here. Well, Disney World, which no longer has one, but they do have Trader Sam's Tiki Bar, which has 20,000 Leagues themes. So anyways, for this collection, I bought this pin right here. So the Disney Sea 23rd anniversary pin based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea right there. There's Donald in the dive suit, Mickey looking all steampunk. What, a good decade or so after steampunk was relevant. You know, there you go. So, yeah. So, and I bought a few other Disney Sea things as well in here. So, hooray! There we go. So, got that pin. I was surprised it took me that long to figure out. Oh yeah, right. Tokyo Disney Sea is in Japan. I can buy like souvenirs from Japan. There's that. All right, excellent. That is squishy. All right. Let's see what this one is. All right. This one is fun. This one's a cutesy thing. There's a lot of things in this purchase that I wouldn't have bought on their own, but because I had bought other stuff, I just kind of like filled in the order. And this is one of those things that I might not have actually bought on its own, but because I was buying other things, I thought, what the hey. All right, sorry. Of course, after your great video, I pulled out and watched Trip to the Moon earlier today. Nice. Those trains look like the same size my old Thomas the Tank Engine toys I had when I was a toddler. Yeah, they're sort of like standard die-cast train size. Opinion on Captain Harlock's Space Pirate. It's okay. It doesn't resonate with me as strongly as 3.9 did. Because it's more like space opera type stuff, which is fine. It's just not as strong. I've watched a few different versions of Captain Harlock. My favorite is the original series. It's okay. I don't like, so it's a bit of resentment, I guess, that they keep trying to kind of force fit Captain Harlock into 3.9. Because they're very different shows. Captain Harlock is like a space opera about sort of revolution and meaning in a meaningless society. Whereas 3.9 is like a character drama about what it means to be human. They're very different tones to them. So, I mean, Harlock's okay. It's just not. I like 3.9 more. Other anime, Barnabas, those space galleons were so beautiful. Well, yeah, I mean, the ships are amazing. I know they were hand drawn in many episodes. Yeah, the same are ridiculous. Corey, have I ever seen Akira? I have seen Akira. I think Akira is overrated. So. That's all I'll say about that right now. But here, a plush Mothra. So I kind of have this like weird like informal Mothra collection going on. So I've got some. That is great. I've already got some stitching coming apart there. So maybe the bride will have to tackle that for me if she is willing. But yeah, kind of. Because Mothra is actually like my favorite kaiju. Like King Kong, I like the movie, and I don't really consider him a kaiju anyways, because he's King Kong. But for like Toho kaiju, Japanese kaiju, Mothra is my favorite. And so I saw this on Buyee and thought, oh, she's so cute. I'm gonna get this cute little Mothra plushie. So, the formula for Captain Harlock was that they were always fighting other ships. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that stitching is kind of messed up, but for a cheap thing I got from Japan, whatever. Actually, Taiwan. I came to Japan by way of Taiwan. But anyways, yes, Mothra, yay, she's so pretty. I like Mothra. So got her as well. Okay. Next, what do we got? All right. Okay. And what is this? Okay, this one. All right. Good. So, another Disney Sea souvenir. Because I was worried that... I knew this was out there. I was worried that, it might... By the time we actually get to Japan... I mean, I would like to go... God, if I could go like this autumn, would be great. Like November 2025. We'll see. We got a lot of transitions going on right now. I was hoping we could do it last year, but that didn't happen either. But I was a bit worried that a souvenir from like Disney Sea is going to disappear before I have a chance to go there. So I picked up this as well, which is a little die-cast car of the ride vehicle from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Now, when I went to Japan, they had like garbage for souvenirs for 20,000 Leagues and Journey to the Center of the Earth. Literally, all I got were like some postcards, the soundtrack for the theme park, and this little die-cast vehicle. This is the ride vehicle for Journey to the Center of the Earth. This is what you ride in to go into the center of the Earth. So they finally, like a couple years ago actually, came out with the ride vehicle, the matching ride vehicle for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is the Neptune. If I can actually get this on there, there we go. This is the Neptune ride vehicle. So 6 people sit in this, 2 in the front, 2 on each side windows. And this is the little submarine pod that you are poodling through. You're going through the attraction, going underwater. Or it seems underwater as well. It's actually a really neat sort of dry for wet effect. How it works, if you want it demystified, is that this actually works like Peter Pan's flight. Like these are suspended from a rail and they're going through. And then there's actually 2 panes of glass for each window and there's water running in between them. So you can do bubbles between these 2 panes of glass and makes it look like you're underwater. But yeah, so there we go. Now I have the matching ride vehicles for my 2 favorite Disney attractions anywhere in the world. My 2 favorite attractions at Disney Sea, the 2 attractions, the only 2 extant attractions. I mean, I guess other than the Mysteries of the Nautilus walkthrough, but the actual like rides based on Jules Verne in Disney parks. So there we go. Hooray! Hooray for buying souvenirs without having to actually go to the place. Love Mothra. Yay, me too. Why did Captain Harlock wear a cape? Because capes are awesome. He's rather stylish. No offense, Barnabas. It went in my school orchestra, and one of the pieces was some Japanese piece, and it sounded a lot like music from Mothra film. We only practiced it for a month, and then it was replaced. Oh, that's good. I'm so terrified going underwater in a submarine. A real submarine? Yes. Well, like there's tourist submarines that I would be willing to do. Like in Hawaii, for example, there's these tourist submarines that you can take. They don't go like super deep. I would be willing to do that. But like claustrophobia would be a little bit harsh. But the Disney Sea, again, you're like in this little pod, but you're not underwater in this. Actually, it just looks like you're underwater. Yeah, cool. All right. Now, one last envelope, and then it's like 2 things that I can see from here of what they are. So, okay. Is this what I think it is? It is what I think it is. All right. There's nothing else in the bag. All right. So, another thing from Disney Sea. Especially after having all this Titan. Oh my god. Yeah, the Titan. Submersible there. Well, I mean, okay. It's tragic, and I am not a big fan of the internet gloating about who it's okay to die. It's a tragedy either way. But it was a completely avoidable tragedy because anybody with half a brain would have known that submersible craft was not up to spec. And unfortunately, a bunch of people had to lose their lives to figure that out. All right, so this is a little model of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Fast Pass machine from Tokyo Disney Sea. So I don't know if Disney Sea even still uses paper fast passes or not, but when I was there, they did, and I made extensive use of the fast passes. Basically, my day at Tokyo Disney Sea was basically I would go ride. I rode 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, got out, got a fast pass for it. Went over to Journey to the Center of the Earth, rode that, got out, got a fast pass for it. Went and rode something else, came back for my fast pass for 20,000 Leagues, the fast pass for Journey to the Center of the Earth, picked up new fast passes, and off went, right? Basically just, yeah, collect a fast pass, go ride something else, go ride those rides again, get another fast pass, go ride something else, then go ride those rides again. My emphasis was on the Jules Verne rides. That was what I wanted to do the most, because that's my jam. I love the Jules Verne stuff. So anyway, so that's the fast pass machine for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And this Disney stuff has actually been sort of fun and interesting, cathartic for me, because as you know, as my audience, that I have been very critical about Disney and the direction of Disney, and going through those stages of grief and loss as Disney has become something other than the thing that I fell in love with back decades ago. The stuff I grew up with as a kid, but also the stuff I got back into as an adult. The Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues, Tokyo Disney Sea, The Haunted Mansion, the Disney villains, the fairy tales, the company itself, and its history. Um, and it's been a long time since I have felt very excited about anything I have seen that's Disney. But then I saw this stuff on Buyee, and I was just like, oh, it sparked that thing in me that reminded me of what I loved about this stuff. And loving 20,000 Leagues, their version of it, and that sort of thing. Remembering how great the theme park was, and because it's not actually run by Disney, it's actually maintained. So, when we do go back to Japan, well, when I go back to Japan, the bride's never been there. But when we go to Japan, no qualms whatsoever about like a day at Disneyland, day at Disney Sea. You've expanded to 2 days instead of just the 1 day that I had when I went. It rekindled and it sparked that thing in me again of actually feeling excited about something related to Disney, instead of just like, what's Disney doing now, and just bracing myself for stupidity and being offended and whatever. So yeah, it was kind of fun to pick up these little things off of Buyee, these Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues, Disney Sea souvenirs. So that was that, and to actually enjoy just love something Disney again, and not have to feel like it's full of regret and annoyance and whatever. And yeah, no, it was good. It was nice. I liked it. Sort of the kid, yeah. Why didn't they build the giant octopus for 20,000 Leagues attraction? There kind of is one in it. You do encounter it's either a giant squid or the kraken, one of the two. It's giant cephalopod. You do encounter it in the attraction. It's not like a full-size model of one, but you do encounter one. And then you set your electric charges and you chase it off, zap it. But then it had dragged you down to Atlantis, and there is some fun in Atlantis in that attraction as well. I love the giant octopus and how Ned Land killed it with a harpoon. Ned Land had nerves of steel. No kidding. Speaking of the giant squid, something absolutely insane, and this is where it's like, oh yeah, Disney, is that in the Mysteries of the Nautilus attraction in Paris, you would go. It's like a walkthrough of the Nautilus, and you go into the salon, and they have the big window, and they have like the iris, and the iris opens up. You're getting attacked by the giant squid. But because that's not very progressive, I guess, Disney took out the squid, which was a giant model. It was a full model of a giant squid. They took that out, replaced it with a screen that shows footage of wildlife, like dolphins and whales and things like that, with some, pleasant ecological, environmentalist sort of narration. And, it's not intrinsically bad. I would have liked if they had done that to like the submarine ride in Disneyland. Instead of making it Finding Nemo, make it like Disney Nature and use those video screens they put in there to show actual like undersea wildlife, whales and stuff like that. I would have preferred it in that attraction. It's not inherently bad. It's just like kind of feels like a step backward from embracing 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and what it is and what the story is and the iconic scene in it of the squid attack. But he was a whaling man. Yeah. Okay. Now we're down to, what do we got here? Oh, that's that. Okay. Yeah, we'll open this. All right. So, now, of course, Tokyo Disney is not the only theme park in Japan. Part of my reason for really wanting to go back is that I want to go to the Godzilla theme parks. So the Seibu-en amusement park just outside of Tokyo, and the Awaji Island, where they have the Godzilla zip line. I want to do those. But also, in Osaka, there is a Universal Studios theme park, which I'm not, like, super keen to go to. But, did see this, which is a cookie tin of the Universal Studios logo. So let's open this up carefully. Try not to wreck it. Right out of the box. Okay, come on. Haha, there we go. Wait, have you guys ever seen the video? Tell me in the comments. Have you guys seen the video of the Universal logo if it was real and you were watching it from ground level? If you have not, say in the comments, because I have it queued up in case. They should build a really squarey squid and frighten little kids with it. Yes, they should. I'm not sure if you have read this, but do you have an opinion on the French novel The Mysteries of Paris by Eugene Sue? I have not read it. Sorry. You're mean bars a little bit. Yes. Anyways, Universal logo obviously got this in conjunction with these guys, right? Universal Monsters. That's why I wanted this. And this is actually... Hold on. No, off my finger. Stickers. Okay, Exposé's seen that video. Okay, let me know if anybody else hasn't. And let's see if I can actually... there we go. Haha. All right. Cookies, anyone? Let's try this out. I'm also hoping, although I'm not sure the volume, I was thinking this was going to be a bit bigger than it actually is. I was kind of hoping I could use this to actually store like all the extra heads and hands and stuff from my NECA figures. Let's see, what are these cookies about? It says Universal Studios on there. Who's smarter, Sherlock Holmes or Captain Nemo? Sherlock Holmes. Oh. Nemo's a technological genius, but a little bit pedestrian in his desire for revenge. Oh. Yeah, it's alright. Nothing to write home about. This is the sort of thing that if you were visiting Universal Studios with your family in Osaka, you would... Did I get the continents misaligned? I did. You would... There we go. You would buy this to bring back as a gift. Because, of course, Japan's a gifting culture. And the gift shops were full of, like, these, like, cookie tins and things. As these sort of, like, little cheap disposable gifts that you would give to, like, coworkers and family, whoever. You have to come back from a trip with a gift. And, yeah, this is that. little Universal Studios cookie things. But yes, I got this to match up with my Universal Monsters figures here. Of course, Universal. And you know what? I have this. And I have this icon from the Disney Studios right here. So am I collecting, like, movie studio logos now? So I guess I would need what? The Warner Brothers Water Tower and the Bronson Gate, Paramount, a model of the Bronson Gate. And there we go. Then I would have, like, kind of the extant Hollywood studios that have a logo thing. Don't know if I'm ever going to get, like, an RKO radio tower. That would be cool. But Rex is here! Yay! Hello, Rex. Been sick and finally getting better. Oh, sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're getting better, though. Captain Nemo built a working submarine in the 19th century. Finding Nemo clever, but Holmes astute, yeah. Sherlock Holmes practically invented forensics. Nice. All right, anyway, so Universal Studios. Hooray. Nice little prop. I don't know where I'm going to put it on my thing yet. I ran out of space on that desk, or that shelf there, but that's all right. Things are going to be changing anyways. Pretty soon. All right, next up. This is fun. Godzilla Hanafuda set. I don't know who here has heard of Hanafuda or not. You know what? Nobody told me that they haven't seen that or have seen that video. So let's pause for a second and we'll do that Universal video. So, don't want to be playing somebody else's content here. That echo's pretty good in there too. So, oh hey, my own live stream was next on the browser. Um, yeah. Anyway, so there you go. The the universal logo from the ground. Um, all right. So this one, Godzilla Hanafuda. I don't know who has heard of Hanafuda or not here, but the Hanafuda is a Japanese card deck you can play a couple different games with. The most popular one is called Koi Koi. And Hanafuda, the first sort of major producer of Hanafuda cards was this back in like 1880s was this little unknown company called Nintendo that produced these Napoleon brand, or they call it President, but Napoleon Hanafuda cards. And so I got a classic set of the classic Hanafuda cards. There was Napoleon on it. Also picked up this set by Nintendo of Mario. So Hanafuda cards with Mario characters on there seemed fitting somehow. And then I saw that the Godzilla store in Japan was selling this Godzilla Hanafuda deck. So want to get that. Now, if you're not familiar with Hanafuda, there's the cards. So there are 12 suits of cards to represent the 12 months. Each suit has a different flower theme or plant theme to it. And you can see the different plants on the screen there. So like January is pine, February is cherry blossom, or so on. Or I'm not sure if it's... actually, cherry blossom would be March. I think their year starts a different time, right? All right, it would... yeah, pine would be February because it's lunar. March would be cherry blossom. Iris is April, and so on and so on. So yeah, and then the most common game is Koi Koi, where you are basically like you have a deck and your opponent has a deck, and then there's some cards in the middle, and you try and match up your cards to the cards in the middle. So you're matching suits, you're getting pairs of suits, and then when you get different combinations, then you can declare Koi Koi, and that round ends, you collect the points. All right. So for example, one of my favorites is the Inoshikacho. So you have the boar card right there. Why am I doing that? You can't see it. I'm using my cursor. We have the boar card there in that month right there. The animal card at the end of that month is the boar, and then you have the autumn. So these maple. There's the deer, and then you have under the peonies there you have the moth or butterfly. And that combination is worth like 7 points. And then, yeah, there's 12 rounds, because of course 12 months. And yeah, then the most points at the end wins the game. And so I saw this Godzilla set. I'm like, I have to get this. So, and boy howdy, Mothra better be the Cho card. All right, so what do we got here? I'm really curious. Okay, so let's take a walk through. There's Shin Godzira's tail. These are really not very sturdy cards. These are not the same quality as the Nintendo ones. Yeah, so we got Shin's tail. We're probably not going to go through like every single one, but there we go. So this is the pine. This is February set here. Okay, so February is Shin Godzilla. Okay, so there's... there we go. And that actually works out really nicely, that each one of his evolutions gets a card. Right there. And then Mothra is the Plum Blossom set. So, there we go. Oh, no! Oh, see, I messed it up. Okay. Don't believe anything I say. Pine is January, Plum Blossom is February, Cherry Blossom is March. It's going... Okay. Anyways, Mothra, they put with the peonies, even though she would have made more, or with the plum blossoms, even though she would have made more sense with the peonies. Batra, right there. Varon, there, and, Radon. Who's the cherry blossoms? Okay, we got Manila, right there. Godzilla fighting off a Zillion flying saucer there. Is it Zillion? Oh no, that's oh god, destroy all monsters. And oh, there he is again. And there he is again. Got some weaponry for that one there, Super X masers and so on. Yeah, I don't. Maybe I'll do a video on these just for the funsies, but I don't want to exhaust the you guys here with. Oh, but I do have to find out. Okay, peonies. Okay, that's the Moth card there. So Godzilla, Batra, and Mothra. There, that works. We'll accept that. Cool. Anyways, so yes, I had to get the Hanafuda set because I love. I actually enjoy the game a lot. It's annoying to play though, because after each round you have to reshuffle the deck and do it all over again, which can get a little tedious. So I most prefer playing it on my phone because the computer does all that for me. So, anyways, Godzilla Hanafuda deck, which again great because it's like this traditional Japanese game. I really enjoy it. So, had to pick up the Hanafuda set. Napoleon. Can you open the cards like a Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh YouTuber and pretend to get a rare one while shuffling them first? There are no rare cards. The deck is all the same. I don't know about Napoleon. Little mini cool items. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I enjoy that, and yeah, maybe I'll do a video on that just because why the heck not, right? Smoke that content. All right, and then we're almost to the end here of stuff. Finally picked up this, which is a Kong. I couldn't very well purchase stuff from Japan and not get a Kong. So this is a Hirose 1983 Universal Studios Kong soft vinyl figure, and I liked him. I do like him. He's got kind of cartoony. He's a little bit more cartoonish sort of expression here. Again, a little hard to see. I can't plug it in yet. But yeah, let's see if we can focus on him there a little bit better. Kind of a fun cartoony Kong here. I do like him. Not that I needed another Kong soft vinyl, but here we go. This is probably going to be one of my last ones. Because how many more do I need of the same character? Because I think we've talked about this before. I am not one of those collectors that needs like a million of an identical soft vinyl figure or whatever. A few representative ones is fine. This one sneaks in because it's got this very different cartoony sort of expression. Very different look from other Kong soft vinyls. Otherwise, there we go. The X Plus soft vinyl. Got one there, and I got the other one back there behind the T-Rex. That's like the perfect Kong soft vinyl. Got the Japanese Kong up there. Raymond, one up there. Yeah, and then I've got the NECA figure and so on. Unless there's something really different about it, I want to get another one. But this one is sufficiently different that he's has that more illustrated look, that more cartoony look. So he will work for me. That's why I got him. Don't worry, Bride. This is probably going to be one of my last ones. She's like, you said that last time. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with this box, though, because this box has seen better days. Maybe I can display him just in the cardboard, like that. Would actually be a pretty alright display, I would think. It's kind of the halfway point of I collect toys, not boxes, but hey, why not display him like that? We'll see. We'll see how he ends up on the shelf. And you'll see how he ends up on the shelf, because you always see him behind me. Yeah, this box is toast, though. Alright. Oh, and then finally... Oh, what else did I get from the Godzilla store? The Godzilla store always packs in fun stuff with their things, so there's that as well. Happy New Year 2025 from the Godzilla store. There you go. 70th anniversary logo on that right there. So that's fun. Okay. And that this is just my receipt. Okay. And then there's this frickin' thing. This frickin' thing right here, which I'm not even going to open. Why not? Well, because, okay. I invited them on. I invited them to show up here. None of them did, I don't think. But there's a YouTube channel called Monsters with Attitude. If you don't watch them, go watch them. Go subscribe to them. They're a lot of fun. They've got like 630 subscribers. So go show them some love. Go check out their stuff. Monsters with Attitude. And go subscribe. And they on Twitch they do these like movie nights. And so we were watching Dimagine. And I mentioned that I wanted to get the Revoltech Dimagine figure, but I held off on it because I don't need it. It's not like I collect Dimagine. And then one of the guys from there, Samson, he's like, just buy it, man, whatever. Just be happy. Buy the thing. I'm like, okay, fine. Peer pressure, whatever. Went and bought it on Buyee. Found a great price. Cool. And then after I bought it, realized I bought the wrong one. This is the black and white version, which is like this like semi-rare variant figure of it. But not the one I wanted. Because I'll open it anyways. Not open, but because I wanted the color version. Why that? Well, because I don't collect black and white figures, first of all, as evidenced by my NECA collection. And Dimagine's in color anyways. Dimagine's a color movie, so it's not even like this is, oh, it's black and white like the movie. The movie's not in black and white. It's in color. So, I've got this Dimagine figure I didn't want now. And in fact, I passed up an opportunity to buy the one I did want. Because, well, screw it, now I'm burned by it. So, yep, sure enough. That is the black and white version. Boo! Not the one I wanted. So, guess what Monster Kid Corey is going to be putting up on eBay shortly. See what I can make back from this. Unless somebody in the chat is interested in buying this. We can talk prices, but yeah, it's. I'm not like I'm more annoyed. I do think I can flip it. Like that's not a problem. And I can, and in so doing, pay off some of what I just bought, all this stuff. But I'm not super worried about that. But it's just that it's just annoying. It's an annoyance. It's not the figure I wanted. I got peer pressured into buying it. It wasn't even the one I wanted. So, Expose might be interested. All right. Email me. There's an email on my channel. My about. Email me about it, and we'll see if we can come to an agreement on a price and shipping as well. So, all right. What's decent looking Kong? Yeah, like that Kong. Yeah, he's nice. Like I said, I'm actually even liking him more in hand now, because the photos. I mean, they look like the photos, but you know, you see it in photo over seeing it in real life. Seeing in real life, yeah, he does have that just unique cartoony proportions, kind of cartoony face. I'm liking him actually. He might be one of my new favorite figures here. Yeah, he's cool. You know what soft vinyl I would love to get, which I'm never going to get, is a King corpse. It's like King Kong, but like half mutilated and destroyed. I would love to get one of those. However, a King corpse figure costs literally like thousands of dollars. I think if you actually win the lottery to have the opportunity to buy one, new they're over $1,000. A secondary market, they're like thousands, plural, of dollars. So I will never own a King corpse. Even down to like, I actually would consider it irresponsible if somebody were to buy one for me. Like, no, that's like, you know, you can buy a car with what you would pay for a King corpse. I know there are collectors out there who do have them. Obviously, people buy them, but I know some of them, and they're just like, yeah, I don't. I love King Kong, but I don't collect like a ton of Kong things. I just wanted to splurge on this one really good Kong thing. Yeah. Coke is so hard to resist; it really quenches your thirst if you drink it with plenty of ice. Yes, I love Coke. I have a Coke addiction, Coca-Cola addiction, um, to the point where I actually got a blood sugar test the other day, like 2 weeks ago, maybe. Because I was a bit like, I drink an awful lot of pop, and I'm over the age where you should be getting tested regularly. So I'm like, okay, I really like sugar is the major part of my diet. And so I'm like expecting like, am I going to be like pre-diabetic? Am I going to be like early stage diabetic? I don't know. And then I did the blood sugar test, and I'm in like the lowest risk. I've got like the very bottom bar for like risk factor. I'm like, okay, well, I guess all right. I celebrated by buying a Coke. Um, so there we go. Um, Coca-Cola used to have Coke, the powder, in there as well. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. How would I imagine figure myself? Bought it years ago. Nice. For newbie, I imagine is a giant statue that comes to life. Yeah. Yeah, because they might be interested. I imagine seems to have gotten inspired by the story of the golem. Yeah, yeah, it's very sort of like a Japanese take on the golem sort of story. Yeah, he wants to learn how to make the original recipe in Nuko. I'm interested if I have a total of $20.11 to my name. Now, granted, $20.11 American is worth a fair bit Canadian, but it's not looking for a little bit more than that. You think James Bond could have taken Doctor Who? Probably. Doctor Who is totally a Bond villain. It's totally a Bond villain. What if he uses giant robot Kong? Now that would be something. In fact, that might be something I will Photoshop later. Um, I'm getting into philosophy. Got any recommendations? Ooh. Um, well, I mean, I am a Christian, as we have discussed somewhat on the live streams before. So that sort of shapes the philosophy that I'm really interested in. Um, I wouldn't even rightly call him a philosopher in that sense, but I love G.K. Chesterton. G.K. Chesterton is amazing, likely because he's not a philosopher. He's an Edwardian Catholic apologist. People they always sort of like talk about like Jules Verne versus H.G. Wells. That was not really a thing. Um, in England, it was H.G. Wells versus George Bernard Shaw versus uh, Belloc. I forget his first name, like Henri or Honor Belloc, and G.K. Chesterton. And Belloc and Chesterton were sort of like on the Catholic side, and good staunch friends. Um, Wells and Shaw were on sort of like the atheist socialist side, and hated each other very much, as only atheist socialists can. But yeah, they were the one that had a public debate going on. It's like Wells, Shaw, Belloc, and Chesterton. G.K. Chesterton is amazing. His main book for which he is most well known is Orthodoxy. Very good book. Even if you're not religiously inclined, it's still a really good insight into sort of the topsy turvy nature of religious belief and why people are attracted to it. Um, so yeah, there's that. Um, I did enjoy Ken Wilber before he went insane and became a cult leader. So I don't know what that says about his philosophy, but his book, A Brief History of Everything, is actually like really great. I really enjoyed it. Um, because he's an integrative philosopher at the time again before he went crazy. Integrative philosopher who a really good job of explaining sort of this sort of four quadrant model of reality of sort of the subjective personal, the objective personal, the intersubjective personal, interobjective personal. Um, Sort of like I, us, um, soul, body, yada yada yada. Social and cultural versus biological, all that sort of stuff. And then also sort of like a hierarchy of sort of enlightenment, as it were. So as you're working your way up this sort of hierarchy in terms of your own sort of your self-awareness into your social awareness into your sort of cosmic awareness is really interesting. Um, Again, medieval scholastics, so like Augustine, um, Saint Augustine, Saint Thomas Aquinas, um, those sorts of things. So I'm trying to divorce like theology versus philosophy. Um, I found Aristotle actually really personally helpful, weirdly enough, because when I was studying Aristotle in university, um, I was going through a period of self-examination brought on by a string of failed relationships, and reading Aristotle and his philosophy of finding the median. Excuse me. I actually found that really helpful in going through that. Um, and in a similar vein, if you think of Buddha, Gautama Buddha, as a philosopher, like I'm not a Buddhist religiously, um, but as a philosopher, I find him very interesting, and sort of his plants in the way. Just notice these shadows going across my face. Um, so if you see sort of like his Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path as a philosophy and learning how to cope, how to overcome sort of anger at the world by overcoming attachment to the world and cultivating disattachment as a philosophy, whether or not you believe in like the cycle of life, death, and rebirth and samsara, all that sort of stuff. But if you and think there actually is a nirvana out there or whatever, but just in terms of like just a philosophy about cultivating disattachment, Buddha is really interesting for that as well. So that's quite the list there. G.K. Chesterton, Aristotle, Buddha, Augustine, and Aquinas, and Ken Wilber. So, like I said, being religious, I tend to lean more into studying religion than just philosophy, especially modern philosophy. I mean, like postmodernist and stuff like that is just nonsense. Um, but like religious stuff, and especially like, I mean, I'm a medieval Catholic at heart, which like, okay, monster kid Corey here with your monster stuff and your Bullet Club T-shirt and whatever. Um, you're a medieval Catholic at heart. Okay, well, it's because I'm Lutheran. I was raised Lutheran, and Luther was an Augustinian monk. So, and Martin Luther, sure, study him too while you're at it. But I find theology more interesting than philosophy, as far as that goes. All right, so hold on, I gotta back it up here because you got me going on philosophers and theologians and so on. If I had money to buy a car, I'd use it reclaiming my ancestor skulls from the Smithsonian. Drink soda occasionally. Try Conquest of Bread. Opinion on Clash of the Titans. God, it's been so. I haven't seen the original movie since I was a kid, so I really couldn't even tell you what my opinion on Clash of the Titans is. As a Christian, what did you think about a famous person who recently said you're at the wrong rally? Oh God, you're gonna make me talk about politics. As a Canadian who is currently apparently the United States' arch enemy, like, thanks for the tariffs, guys. Okay, here is my political hot take. I think, as a Christian, you're in a very difficult position in the United States because you're trapped in a two-party system of which neither option is particularly great. I mean, in Canada, we have, I just looked up the other day, we have 17 registered political parties, of which 5 of them are major parties that actually get people elected. So we have like 5 major political parties in Canada. So we have quite a bit of choice relative to the United States. The United States, you have these 2 choices. On the one hand, you have a party that does not itself embody Christian virtues particularly well, especially considering the president, the character of the president. I don't think I'm saying anything too out there and controversial if I say that Donald Trump is not a particularly virtuous person. I think even most Republicans would agree with that, given his track record on his own moral conduct. So on the one hand, as a Christian, you'd be like, well, yeah, I don't like that guy. He's a serial adulterer, and he's like, I'm actually very entertained when he goes to church, because it's like he's never been in one before. It's actually really funny watching him. Yeah, he's not a church man, obviously. It's a philanderer, and he's only famous for being rich and all that sort of stuff. So it's not a great option. But on the other hand, you have the other political party, which like openly hates Christians. You could argue that some of their policies are more Christian in terms of like, there is a tension. God, what, this is a toy unboxing. What are we talking theology for? There is a tension in religious life, Christian life specifically, between righteousness and mercy, right? So, and you have to balance those things, right? You can't have too much of one or the other. Too much righteousness, and you get this sort of like soulless legalism that puts this burden of just merciless, absolutist legalism on people. And on the other side, let's say too much mercy, and you just get this kind of wishy-washy permissiveness that can actually itself result in this sort of like anarchic lawlessness. And neither one of those is preferable. Right? You need to balance. You need to have righteousness tempered with mercy. You need to have mercy directed by righteousness. In Christianity, you mediate that with worship, right? You stay in communion with God to help you navigate that tension between righteousness and mercy. Okay. Now you look at American politics and you could say, all right, Republicans are righteousness and Democrats are mercy. Okay. So you actually need them both. Like you need both parties to balance each other out, right? Or else you get a disaster either way. But with the Democrats, the problem there is that, okay, they have some more sort of merciful policies. And you can look at some of major Democrat cities and go like, well, maybe a little more righteousness would be good. A little more law and order would be okay. But then the Democrats like openly hate Christians. Like it's not a secret, okay? Like you have to be honest. They openly hate Christians. They openly hate the church and Christian values and all sort of stuff. Even those that say, oh, I'm a Christian. Yeah, but none of your policies and none of your public speech and none of what you say reflects that. In fact, on the contrary, Christians are horrible, privileged colonizers and yada, yada, yada. So Christians in the United States are put in this terrible situation where they either have to vote for someone whose life is very not Christian or for people who hate them. And I do not envy that decision. I do not envy that having to make that choice. If I was American, I would find it very difficult to vote. Period. Like I don't know like who I would vote for. Do I vote for the people who hate me but whose policies kind of nominally reflect some what I believe? Or do I vote for the people who I find morally repugnant but who at least don't openly hate me? So, luckily, I'm not an American, so I don't have to make that decision. I just wish that, you guys, the current administration was not waging a trade war with their closest neighbor and trading partner. But whatever. So, was that a roundabout answer for you, Barnabas? on my monster toy unboxing video. I've never actually done a video on like being a Christian and like how I approach like media and like why I like old monster movies as a Christian and stuff. And it's sort of grafted in my videos, and I have one coming up where it's going to be a little more obvious why. But yeah, maybe someday I'll actually do a video about like as being a Christian fan of old horror movies. All right, where were we? Expose. It's writing down a list. Also Diogenes, he's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, I know a lot of these guys since my parents are both religious majors. My parents talk a lot. I don't understand it. Yeah. The Golden Globes seemed really angry at Christians for some reason. Yeah, they mocked them during the broadcast, and afterwards, LA burned down. Yeah. Well, there was this incident in Canada here a few years ago where so we had this horrible thing happen here in Canada of these residential schools where indigenous children were taken from their families and forced into these schools that the purpose being to civilize them, to integrate them into British culture and colonization, and as well as being like terrifying places of just unimaginable abuse of all kinds. And about 6,000 kids died in these residential schools. And when the news sort of broke about that, because the estimates about how many kids had died in these schools had been well known among people who were paying attention, but when they started going to these schools and using like ground penetrating radar to find the cemeteries and find the graves of these poor kids at these schools, that created a huge national sort of moral crisis. Now, most of these schools were run by churches, Catholic Church, Anglican Church, and what's now the United Church of Canada, specifically. So there's a lot of anger directed at these churches, and a lot of vandalism. A lot of churches were actually burned down, like arson. My own church, which is Lutheran, and we had nothing to do with it. We did not run any residential schools. The Lutheran Church is like a small German ethnic community enclave, and my church got vandalized as well from the backlash of that. But then, like 3 days after this happened, these churches were being burned down and stuff, there was this like massive lightning storm in Canada, like across the country, and like it was like the wrath of God descended on Canada. So it's like I'm not given to thinking that's what it was, but it was kind of like, well, that was interesting. So yeah, Golden Globes, and then suddenly LA burns down. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, no, like it's obvious. Like it's obvious Hollywood hates Christians. It's obvious that the political establishment hates Christians. The Democrats hate Christians. Like it's not a secret. We know. We can tell. We're not idiots. Thank you very much. Representation matters, and then how the only way Hollywood ever represents Christians is as villains, right? I can maybe, if you give me a minute to think about it, maybe I can recall some positive portrayals of Christians in mainstream Hollywood media, but wouldn't be an easy thing to find in my head. So yeah, like it's just we know you hate us. It's not a secret. So then why would we vote the way you tell us to? Even if it means voting for someone who's odious, morally repugnant, but hey, they don't hate us, so that's that. I had a boyfriend who was a Buddhist. I didn't really quite get it. Well, Queen, I could explain it to you if you're interested. So, I did actually in my old life as a museum educator. I actually did teach about Buddhism. So, I can't explain it if you would like. But so Buyee, right? Yeah. There are still forces in the world that are difficult to understand or explain. Buddha plays a shockingly big role in dinosaur Catholicism. He was there for the first dinosaur Christmas as the pastor for Jesus and Satan's Rex. Fair enough, Rex. Are Hercules and Samson both based on powerful warrior from ancient times? No. All right, so I mean, Hercules you're probably pretty familiar with. Hercules is a demigod, right? Hercules is uh, he's the son of Zeus and like a human woman because Zeus can keep it in his pants and Zeus is going around having kids with everybody. Hercules is a demigod. Samson, who I believe was an actual historical person, right? Like Hercules is a myth, right? Hercules, his stories even take place in sort of like this mythic time before time. This is one of the ways when you're reading sort of historical literature like this, is how some clues to look for to understand if what you're reading is supposed to be understood as myth. If it takes place in sort of this timeless time before time, that's mythology. If it's like the Hebrews had just recently conquered Canaan and were fighting off the Philistines, and there was this guy named Samson, that's historical literature. That's history. That's not mythology. Um, so Samson, he was a Hebrew who was consecrated as a Nazarite. So a Nazarite, that is a vow that either you can take or your parents take on your behalf that consecrates you as this sort of outsider of Hebrew society. And there's certain things that go with it. You're not supposed to cut your hair. That's the main one. That's that has to do with Samson. Right? You're not supposed to cut your hair as a Nazarite. When you are finished your Nazarite vows, then you demonstrate that by shaving your head. And Nazarites were perceived as having certain special sort of connections with God. Usually it's prophecy of some kind. Um, John the Baptist, if you're familiar with that, John the Baptist was also a Nazarite. So he's this outsider figure, right? Standing outside of Hebrew society so that he can then critique it. And that's what prophecy actually is. Prophecy is not so much about telling the future as it is about sharing sort of God's message for a society as sort of an outside judge of that society. So, Samson, he's a Nazarite, and sort of his connection with God is he has this incredible strength. And he uses it to fight off the Philistines, who were this invading army from the Mediterranean. No one's exactly sure where the Philistines were from. It's thought they were like maybe like Greek, but it's not really well known. And incidentally, Philistine is where the name Palestinian comes from. So, the Palestinians are named after an invading army. How ironic. So yeah, Samson, he's a Nazarite. He has the strength to fight off these Philistines who want to conquer the Holy Land. And then Delilah comes along, and she cuts his hair, which is the end of his Nazarite vow, and that's why he loses his strength. And he lost it because he was having this illicit dalliance with this woman, which is like, okay. And then he's captured and he's strung up in like this Philistine palace, and he's humbled, and that's when he finally really understands what the Nazarite vow was about, and that's when he sort of reconsecrates himself to God, and God restores his strength, and he takes down the palace and kills the Philistines. I can see where you might see parallels between Hercules and Samson, but they're very different stories. They're very different stories. And these myths about the demigods, like Hercules, actually are referenced in the Bible. A lot of people don't know this because they haven't actually read it. But the flood, like Noah's flood, right? Oh, God was mad at the sin of people on earth, and so he caused the flood. Kind of. The actual proximate cause of the flood is that angels, disobedient angels, had descended from heaven and were reproducing with humans and creating these angel-human hybrids called the Nephilim. And this was a big no-no, and for reasons that have to do with sort of Hebrew cosmology. There's a big no-no going on. And so it's thought that these Nephilim figures were actually a reference to these sort of demigod figures like Hercules, right? How did the Hebrews approach this question of like these demigod figures from mythologies, right? Because Babylonian mythology and Greek mythology and all these mythological systems have these demigod characters. How did the Hebrews reconcile with that? Well, easy. They were the offspring of humans and angels. They were called the Nephilim, and they were bad, and they had to be destroyed by a flood. So, on the other hand, you have a communist party. We have two communist parties in Canada. We have two communist parties because the communists can't get along with each other. It's how ironic. Nothing like a squid, dinosaur, monster kid, and whatever species Queen, Kaiser, and Barnabas are talking about politics and religion. I'm streaming about toys. Yeah, this is a heck of a stream here, guys. um. All right, where were we? Hold on. Don't really care about Donald's private life. Never have. Yeah, that's probably for the best. P Diddy and his buddies have engaged in all sorts of yeah. No kidding. Third party. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, voting for a third party in the United States, I don't believe it's wasted because that assumes that votes are interchangeable, and that, like, oh, you have to vote for party X because otherwise party Y will get in. Well, like, I don't like either X or Y, so why would I vote for either one? I don't want either one of you in power. Why would I vote for you? So vote for a third party, right? I'm very democratic that way. Like, I think a multi-party system is great. I wish in Canada we had proportional representation, so that each party only had the number of seats in our parliament that was equal to the percentage they had of the popular vote, so that everybody got the representation they're entitled to under democracy, right? This is another thing where I differ from modern society, is that I believe people who are different from me do have a right to a political voice proportional to their percentage of support in the society, right? Everyone should have a proportional amount of political representation. American society is much more like us versus them. They're evil and you can't have them around. America would be better if they weren't around. I don't believe that. I believe in a democracy. Democracy itself is the good thing, and people are entitled to representation. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, so third party, yes. I just wish there was a more, for the sake of Americans, I wish there were more viable third parties. I don't care for Trump. He claims my family being dinosaurs is just a stunt. Third party never gained traction yet. They're like H.G. Wells. They want to wipe Christians off the face of the earth. Yep, pretty much. I will hand it to Wells, though. At least he admitted it. It's not just like Star Trek, where it's like society, then nuclear war, then utopia. That just doesn't have religious people in it. Religion is for aliens. So I don't like Star Trek. Well, I mean, I like Star Trek. That's one of the things I don't like about Star Trek, is this very flat, like, religion is for aliens to have. But H.G. Wells at least admitted it. He wanted to, like, violently wipe out religious people. Vote for people who support Christians. Yeah, easiest choice to make. Yep. On a lighter note, I got some more Victorian sci-fi, ancient literature, and pulp fiction 3 Sundays ago. Got tons of Lovecraft and Dash Shall Have It. Nice. I'm glad I have headphones on while watching this. My mom is next to me, and she's a Christian Democrat. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Well, everybody has to make the compromise that they think is worthwhile. And for some people, that compromise is, okay, these people hate me, but what they are fighting for is closer to what I believe in. So that just is what it is. Vote for the party that doesn't want to destroy you. Yeah. Which is also why, like, I understand why people who don't want to vote Republican don't vote Republican, because I can see where that would be sensitive for them. I get it. I understand. Right? Like, it's not. I understand why people vote the way they vote. Say that, put it that way. Wouldn't they have grown up to become bloodthirsty savages? Oh, I've lost track of who we're talking about there. The Lord works in mysterious ways, called all God's plan. Why do they hate Christians? Well, if I take them at their word, the reason why they say they hate Christians is that they believe that Christianity is an oppressive colonial system that was enforced by European imperialism and colonialism. That, if I take their word for it, that's why they say they hate it. So, okay. And then, you have the sort of the religious right kind of thing in the United States, that religious conservatism that has not been very favorably disposed towards, like, LGBTQ people and so on. And is seen as patriarchal and misogynistic and homophobic and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, my own views, I'm pretty liberal. So Like, I'm pro gay rights. Oh, it was my subscribers now. I'm pro gay rights. I'm pro gender equality and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's not, to me, that's not an issue. Um, and I tried for years. In my life as a university student, liberal college activist, to be like, no, I'm one of the cool Christians. I'm not like the other Christians. Finally, they still hate you anyways. It doesn't change anything. So, but yeah, I'm one of the cool Christians. I'm one of the liberal Christians. Um, but yeah, so if I take them at their word, that's why they hate Christians. It's conservative Christians who are sort of these patriarchal, misogynistic, homophobic, European colonial authoritarian system. If I take their word for it. Most in the Ten Commandments was a portrayal of a Christian. He's Jewish, but I guess in the movie The Ten Commandments, yeah. Samson was a demigod as well. No, Samson was not a demigod. Woman was barren, but he's not considered divine because that's not really a thing in ancient Hebrew cosmology. There's no such thing as a demigod. Like, absolutely not. Like I said, was explaining about the Nephilim. No, Hebrew, a demigod would be considered a horrific thing. So he was not a demigod. He was born miraculously, but not a demigod. That would have been like absolutely like abhorrent to ancient Hebrews, that concept. This live stream has taken more turns than the EC comic stream. Oh my god. Yep. That was quite the stream. That was the one that made me give up on doing themed streams. That was a crazy one. Samson killed 1,000 Philistines, the jawbone of an arse. Yeah, he did. So he had a magical weakness. Again, not exactly. I mean, you could see it that way, but it's more complicated than that. Hercules is also a bit like Achilles. And Samson had this weird comic in like the 50s or 60s from Gold Key. He's constantly fighting monsters and has his hair cut like 3 times. Yeah. He had a magical weakness. Do you think dinosaur skeletons inspired many of the stories about the Titans, Nephilim, and giants and dragons? No, I don't. There are. Okay. So pre-scientific peoples did have ways of trying to understand what dinosaur bones were. In fact, I've studied specifically how the indigenous, like Native American people of my area, how they conceptualized dinosaur bones, what they were. They call them the grandfather of the buffalo. It's associated these large skeletons, these large bones, with the largest animal they knew, which was a buffalo. And they treated them as sort of kind of like these things. They did like offerings, like tobacco and stuff like that, in these places to connect with the buffalo spirits and all that sort of stuff for success in the hunt and so on. In China, it said, yeah, dinosaur bones were like dragon bones, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, I reject the idea that religion and mythology are pre-scientific attempts to explain the natural world. You can see elements of that in some religions, sure. Gotta make Thor happy because Thor controls the thunder. It's not applicable at all to Abrahamic religion. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam do not operate on that system. The Bible is actually pretty remarkable for how it does not attempt to explain the natural world at all. It assumes a natural world. It assumes a world that runs by rational laws separate from God. As opposed to like pagan religions, which view sort of nature as being governed by these various gods and spirits and things. Gotta make Thor happy, right? Whereas in Christianity, lightning is just lightning. It's not run. It's not being thrown around by a demigod or whatever, or some nature spirit. But that said, no, I don't believe that the primary purpose of these mythological stories, these religious beliefs, and so on, is to try and explain the natural world. So no, the belief in dragons and titans and giants and things like that predated the bones. They might have saw the bones then and try and sort of like fit that into that worldview. Like maybe they found like the skull of a woolly mammoth and thought, oh, the one nasal cavity there being, oh, that's where the eye went. It's not because they saw the skulls first and then decided Cyclops was a thing. So they already believed in Cyclops, and then they found these bones and thought, oh, that kind of looks like what we're talking about. Because these characters and these ideas, these concepts, these beliefs, they serve a deeper sort of function in terms of articulating their sense of the world, like their worldview, their moral views or ethical systems, how you're supposed to behave, um, their place in the world, sort of their existential view of themselves, their spiritual relationship with the world around them, that sort of thing. That's what these stories are about. They're not just pre-scientific attempts to explain natural phenomena. They're deeper than that. And then maybe some of them fit these bones into those beliefs. But the beliefs didn't come from the bones. If that made sense. All I asked was what books would be good recommendations. Yeah, expose, you did this to us. America will be better without the party that hates Christians. Yeah, well, parties are parties, but a party, just stop hating Christians. Seriously. Star Trek was a portrayal of a communist paradise. No, it was not. Star Trek is not communist. Ask me how. I've actually thought about doing a video about why Star Trek has never been woke. But I've not got around to doing that because I generally, except for this stream, you guys, try and keep my channel like fairly non-political. Because going after like what I don't like about society is such low-hanging fruit. I'd rather try and talk more about what I do like. Except for Universal Studios, and go crap on them and their theme park. But never realized that when I was a kid. Okay. Which items you got is your favorite? Thank you, Bride, for trying to get us back on track. My favorite thing of what we got. It's either going to be Kong here. This is really neat. Or, it's hard to go wrong with Mothra here. This is the second Mothra plush now. You also got the Mothra Squishmallow. So, hard to go wrong with Mothra here. We have to make sure that Dog does not think that this is a toy for her either. So it has to stay on a high shelf. Those are probably my two most favorite things I got here. Although, they're all great. I wouldn't have bought them. I'll share those cookies with you later. So, the Bible Belt makes sure that anti-God candidate wouldn't win. Yeah. Well, again, that's like, how do you judge what's proper anti-Christian, right? Really got off subject today. Yes, we did. Any videos planned for Lost World for 1925? Yes, I am. I actually have it written. I just have to actually make it. But yes, I am doing a Lost World Centennial video. There we go. I have to reclaim my place as one of the world experts on Lost World. So there we go. In fact, I can almost guarantee that most videos that are going to be coming out about the Lost World Centennial are probably using my website as a reference for it. But also, still waiting for Bella Lugosi meets a Brooklyn Gorilla video. That will come eventually. Someday. Keep on me. Keep on me about that. Hey, finally someone joining the party. There are descriptions of monsters in the Bible. Yeah, well, yeah, it's like Leviathan and stuff like that. But it's thought that those are like... what are they? People speculated that some of those creatures could be references to like hippopotamus, saltwater crocodiles, Nile crocodiles, things like that. But the point of them is that the whole point of that passage in Job, the book of Job, is that God is not comprehensible. God is not bound by human rules. So it kind of doesn't matter what Leviathan is. In fact, it even helps if you don't know what Leviathan is. Because then you're not like going to be lured into this idea you can still understand it. The point is that you can't understand God. You can't bind God by human thought. I was invited to the party, Rex. Just took a wrong turn. You think pterodactyl bones inspired stories about ancient Arabian rock or the Indian thunderbird? No. I have a pet theory about thunderbird. That thunderbird might, in part, be a cultural memory of Territorns. So Territorns were a giant Ice Age bird that were common to the Pacific coast and the American Southwest. With wingspans of like 18 feet, 20 feet, something like that. So I have a pet theory that Thunderbird might be a cultural memory of those Teratorns. But again, it's not. The story is deeper than that, and Thunderbird is a deeper thing than just a cultural memory of an Ice Age bird. The story of the Great Flood appears in many cultures. Yes, it does. Yesterday, welcome in BIOB, drinks the fridge. Why did Noah have to rescue the animals in a day? Why couldn't he do it again? Well, we'll put those theological questions aside for now. Have you seen any recent good movies? I have not seen any recent movies. I don't even remember the last movie I saw. Like, new movie in the theater. I didn't see Nosferatu. I didn't see The Wolfman. Because why? I've heard mixed things about Nosferatu. The Wolfman, I've heard like universally bad things about it, so which to be expected. The last movie I watched that I chose was The Princess and the Frog, Disney, because buying the stuff got me back in a bit of a Disney mood. So, do you like any of the Mothra solo films? The Mothra solo films are funny things. Cause I mean they're obviously for kids, like they're for young people. They really have like this Power Rangers vibe to them. But I did enjoy them. I liked like Des Ghidorah. I thought was awesome. I'm trying to remember the version of Ghidorah in the third one. Shoot, was it Des Ghidorah in the third? No, I can't remember. But either way, Ghidorah, the remakes of Ghidorah in the Mothra solo films were good. The solo films, they were kind of cutesy and fun, and they were what they were. They weren't like deep movies or anything like that, but they were fun. If I found, like, if I was at the flea market and I saw a DVD of the Mothra solo films, I would pick it up. I recommend you skip the recent remake of Nosferatu. Fair enough. And a second from Barnabas there. A creature from the Book of Revelation sounds a lot like King Ghidorah. Well, yeah. The creature in Revelations actually represents Rome. I got my baby cousin a Mothra plush for Christmas. My uncle would have thanked me, but I also got him this flag didn't hang itself. Ooh, I've been wondering about the new Nosferatu Kaiser, but it looks really scary. I also heard, Bride, that there is a scene in it that would suggest that we should not see it. At least together. As I said, the last live stream, my mom left after 30 minutes of the film. I love the entire thing, not as much as the original. Yeah. And Behemoth sounds a bit like Godzilla. Well, yeah. You could, if an American wanted to go that route, I'm sure they could sort of align kaiju with, like, creatures from the Bible, these apocalyptic creatures from the Bible, and have, you got to have like the crazed priest reading from the Book of Revelation while Godzilla attacks, right? Got to have that scene in there. There's a really cool looking King Ghidorah in the third Mothra film. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Hold on, let me just bring up my browser. Rebirth of Mothra 3. Which Ghidorah is it in there? Yes, what I didn't like about the Mothra trilogy is that it's Mothra Leo. And it's sort of like, okay, a like an immortal male Mothra kind of defeats the whole point of Mothra. Right? The whole point of Mothra is that she is a goddess of life, death, and rebirth. Her power is the power of life, death, and rebirth. So she has to kind of go through that cycle where, yeah, she dies and a new Mothra hatches and the larva comes out and metamorphoses into adult Mothra again. That's the process. So Mothra Leo, being a male, first of all, is weird. And then instead of like going through that cycle of life, death, and rebirth, he just gets these upgrades and becomes like Metal Mothra and Rainbow Mothra and stuff. Is kind of weird. So that part I didn't really care for too much. But again, I would still, like, if I saw the DVD somewhere, I'd pick it up. I'm not gonna like go out and find it, but if I did see it somewhere, I'd probably get it. I'm trying to remember the Ghidorah in it. So instead of checking Wikipedia, let's check Wikizilla, because that is always a better source for kaiju stuff. Monsters in it. Cretaceous King Ghidorah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like Ghidorah. Yeah, that Ghidorah is fine. Cretaceous Ghidorah is alright. Des Ghidorah was kind of the most original Ghidorah in that trilogy. So I like that. And I was amused by using Ghidorah as a foe for Mothra, because Mothra doesn't really have her own foe. But I do think that like Mothra versus Hedorah would be an interesting story. Because you have, this goddess of nature versus a monster made of pollution. Which is like that's an interesting contrast. So I wish someone would write a more adult themed Mothra film. Yeah. Um, I say you could do that. I mean, Mothra herself is kind of implicitly, well, I say implicitly friendly, but that depends on your relationship to nature. If it's positive, then she's friendly. If it's not, then she's not. But yeah, you should watch Flow. It's the best silent movie all year. I've heard that Flow is good actually, so I should take it upon myself to see it. That's just Godzilla Song of Giants. It's awesome, by the way. They did kind of break away from the lore in the third Mothra. Yeah. I wish that version of King Ghidorah would have fought Godzilla. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think on my list of favorite Ghidorahs, I think Des Ghidorah was on there. Um, but I mean, my most favorite version of Ghidorah is the Void Ghidorah, right, from the anime trilogy. Which I'm also planning on doing a video about, because I did the video on like Showa, well, Toho non-Godzilla Showa movies. But I'm kind of in the process of writing a video on the Reiwa era, like the current era of Godzilla, and why it's so great. So it'd be like Shin Godzilla, the anime trilogy, Singular Point, and -1, and also I mentioned them, the gemstone animations and the Suitimation shorts from Godzilla Day. Those ones. So like the like Gigan Rex, stuff like that, in there as well. Because I think the current era of Godzilla is actually really amazing. It's like and in the dire condition of modern movies, Reiwa Godzilla is actually great. So Leo Mothra was an attempt to sell the character to more boys, which is like, that's not the appeal. So, it's okay for stuff to have certain audiences that prefer it more. That's fine. It's okay if girls like this more and boys like that more. Boys are more inclined to like Godzilla. Girls might be more inclined to like Mothra. That's okay. I don't mind. I like Mothra. Mothra's my favorite kaiju. Whatever. Boys can like girl stuff. Whatever. It's fine. But when they try and take something that was for like one, primarily sort of towards one, and then try and force it to be for the other, like Star Wars, like the Force is female. Well, no. Star Wars, you can try and universalize it a bit more, but it's like, it's sort of, I'm sort of the attitude of like, the thing should stay what it is, and you can invite people in to enjoy it as well. Right? I was that way when I was a goth, for example. Well, I still kind of am, but when I was more goth, I didn't see it as a problem that like goth wasn't very ethnically diverse. It's like, well, anyone can be welcomed in to enjoy it. It's just, go figure, a culture based on European history is more appealing to Europeans. Okay, whatever. Doesn't mean other people are not allowed in, but you don't have to change what it is to appeal to people who otherwise aren't interested in it. Whatever. Oh god, we're getting political again. Probably did it to sell more merchandise. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Who's buying most Mothra merchandise anyways, right? Whenever someone mentions Kaiser Ghidorah from Godzilla Final Wars, I always think of a three-headed Kaiser Wilhelm II before I think of the monster himself. Yeah. And I like Kaiser Ghidorah. Kaiser Ghidorah is like one of my favorite Ghidorahs too. I like four-legged Ghidorahs for some reason. Like Des Ghidorah and Kaiser Ghidorah yeah. But yeah, I know. I when I hear Kaiser, I do think of Wilhelm II as well. It's like, where's Ghidorah's little helmet with the spike on the top, right? If you had to do a remake of House of Frankenstein, which characters would you use? Well, here's the thing. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily do a remake of House of Frankenstein, but I would do a continuation of the original series. So sort of either find niches between movies to stick another movie, or just pick up after the end of House of Dracula. Although that said, House of Dracula was very much an end to the series, right? Like Larry is cured of lycanthropy, Dracula is dead, Frankenstein monster is dead again. But my inclination would be to just do a. Oh, the bride is sneaking in on me. Oh, oh, bringing a bottle of water for me. I guess my voice is not sounding great.
You sound tired.
I sound tired. I am tired. Thank you. Look, Squishmallow Mothra came to bring me a bottle of Coke with water in it, which is hardly fair. It should be a bottle of Coke with Coke in it. I do have water, actually. It's right. But yeah, where were we? What were we talking about? I forget. Oh yeah, House of Frankenstein. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't feel a need to remake House of Frankenstein because it already exists. And it's okay. It's a fine. It's not like a top tier Universal movie, but it exists. It already exists. Why would I want to remake it? I'd rather do a continuation of the original series. And I think I've mentioned this before, maybe, but I had this idea that like if I was just out of the blue, like Universal, they saw my videos complaining about them, watched some of my live streams, and decided, you know what? Let's give this guy control. Let's make him the brand manager for Universal Monsters. He seems to know what he's talking about, so let's make him the brand manager for Universal Monsters. What would he do? This would have been a little more effective like 20 years ago, but either do movies or do a cartoon in the style of Batman the Animated Series or the Batman the Caped Crusader, the new one. That very like retro 30s sort of style, kind of Art Deco style cartoon. And do a Universal Monsters cartoon. And do adaptations of the movies as this cartoon, but also fitting in other original stories into that and creating this more unified continuity that way with this cartoon series, right? So you'd have like the first couple episodes would be Dracula, the next couple episodes would be Frankenstein, right? The couple episodes of Bride of Frankenstein, and then maybe you do like a sequel to Bride of Frankenstein, right? Somewhere down the line you might have like Dracula versus the Mummy. You might have a flashback episode of when Dracula fought the Hunchback of Notre Dame, stuff like that. Right? Wolfman versus the Creature from the Black Lagoon, things like that. Fights we didn't get to see in the movies. They would have to use Dracula as well. Yeah, you're a goth without the makeup. Well, I'm a goth without the hair. When I lost the hair, that was it. All bets were off after that. I'm in a similar situation for different reasons. The makeup is pain with arm extenders. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can add a image of what I used to look like. It's been in my videos before, but yeah, this is good enough. Wow, that's too big. Hold on. Let's shrink that down a bit. This is a photo of me at the Goth Club. Circa, when was this? This was about circa 2004, 2005. Thereabouts. So that was me back then, when I was younger and hotter and gother, cuter, stuff like that. Now I'm just old. I've hit that age where it's like I wear like these denim jackets and whatever. Covered with patches of things. This is my Route 66 jacket. Need to still make my Monster Patch jacket. Wear Aloha shirts, usually, except for it was Japanese stuff today, so I went with the New Japan Pro Wrestling shirt. But yeah, don't do the makeup anymore because I'm not cute enough to do that anymore. Aren't you just describing House of the Wolfman? Pretty much. Always wanted to see Frankenstein fight the creature from Black Lagoon. Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, technically speaking, at the end of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, if we take that as part of the continuity, despite what I said in my video, if we let's take now, we'll say that Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is the last film in the continuity. Well, that took place in Florida. So now, Dracula, Wolfman, and the Frankenstein monster are all in Florida, and guess where the creature is? The creature's also in Florida, at least after the end of Revenge of the Creature, right? So, there you go. That is, that's Wolfman versus the creature, right there. Krauskador is Wilhelm II. Would that make Godzilla and Mothra the Allied powers? Godzilla is Churchill. The Invisible Man could show up at the end, like in Abbott and Costello film. Yeah, true. Kids would probably get a kick out of the cartoons. Yeah. I also had this idea of like doing toys, like kid toys, like 3 3¾ inch, 5-inch, whatever figures for kids that kids can afford to buy. So not like reaction figures, but like quality figures that are still cheap enough for kids to afford. Of the monsters, and then they would include a little business card sized DVD. If you picked up the old VHS of Creature from the Black Lagoon back in the day that had that little CD-ROM business card on it, that came with it, had a game on it, like that. The business card that would have like a video clip of the monster, because the kids likely have not seen the movie, but now they get the little video clip and then they can watch like at least a part of the movie. They can see the monster doing something. They can see the creature stalking somebody, stalking the girl in the lagoon. They could watch the creation of the Bride of Frankenstein. They could watch the creation of the Frankenstein monster, like those scenes, right? They can see the Wolfman transform and go stalking through the forest, that sort of stuff. And and then you could even sell like packs of just the cards, just the little DVDs, with other scenes that aren't included with the toys, right? So and kids could like collect and trade and whatever. That was another idea I had, but I'm I'm not exactly in a position to realize that dream. So unless Universal makes me brand manager, come on Universal, get on it. Your best brand manager is going to be your biggest critic, so come on. I like to about all the greens, yeah. I like to see a House of the Invisible Man with Creature in the Black Lagoon and the Mummy. It would be cool to see the B team get some love. Yes. Yeah. Invisible vampires. Invisible Man versus Dracula. Get invisible vampires. Or they're already, invisible. Could a vampire see an invisible man? That's an interesting question. It'd be wonderful if they brought back the Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah. Well, yeah, the only sort of continuity thing that's done that is Halloween Horror Nights, Universal Halloween Horror Nights. They had that the bride lives haunt attraction, where the bride she's alive and she's trying to fix the Frankenstein monster and bring him back to life after the end of Bride of Frankenstein, the movie. So there you go. That's the continuity right there. Why didn't Dr. Frankenstein read the label on the jar containing the brain? Abby Normal. Yeah. Oh, Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah. You were very handsome. Oh, thank you. Used to be. Yeah. Lucky me, I got married right when I hit the wall. So as soon as my face ran into the wall of age, got married. Perfect. Feel sorry for the bride though, but there we go. There are certain Universal monsters that are abandoned. What are your thoughts on Paula the Ape Woman or Rando Hatton as the Creeper? Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't. Well, I mean, the captive wild woman, Jungle Woman. She had 3 movies, so I mean, on the balance, she did okay compared to Dynamo Dan, the Electric Man, who only got 1 movie. So the captive wild woman did okay for herself, really, in the overall scheme. Yeah, I don't know, they just didn't resonate, right? Like there's a mythic quality the um to the Magnificent Seven monsters. Right? There's a mythic quality to them. Frankenstein is a sort of a mythic allegory for the human condition. The Wolfman is this mythic, and like remember, the Wolfman is the second attempt Universal made at a Wolfman story, right? Werewolf of London didn't hit the mark. Wolfman did, because Wolfman is this very primal story about sort of man's chthonic urges and the the underlying pulse of savagery and violence in the human condition. And it comes out in this werewolf form. And it's delivered with this very mythic, you've got the forest and you've got the gypsies and you've got the poem and you got all that stuff, right? Um yeah, it's so you got that mythic thing, right? The Mummy, you have that. Well, first of all, Egypt itself is like a mythic setting, right? Like ancient Egypt is this rich mythic setting. And then the original Mummy is, and to a slightly lesser extent, the Kara series, it's about obsession, love transformed into obsession, right? That lasts for thousands of years. This mythic thing. Dracula is mythic in terms of like he is this allegory for like you know satanic seduction, right? The drive to do all the things that are forbidden and sinful and evil. You have all these mythic things going on in the Magnificent Seven. What does Dynamo Dan represent? Right? What does Paula, the captive wild woman, what does she represent? Right? And it's a little more opaque, that one. Um, like, I mean, you can say, okay, so it's sort of like, the innocent creature brought into civilization to act as like this observer of civilization. Okay, but then the creature does that way better. Like, Creature from the Black Lagoon is like the best version of that story, right? In the Universal canon. I think King Kong is the best version of that story, but Creature from the Black Lagoon is like the next best. Um, Creature from the Black Lagoon does that story already. Actually came out after, but so Creature is even more mythic than Captive Wild Woman is. So what does Captive Wild Woman do? What does she represent? What does Dynamo Dan represent? What does the Creeper represent, other than kind of like a serial killer? And if it doesn't have a clear, like even most people, I'm a big nerd, so I can say it, but like most people can't articulate that that's what these things represent, but they can intuit it, right? They feel it. And I guess, they didn't feel what Dynamo Dan represented. So, yeah. I don't know. But I mean, I love any trip to Universal Monsterland. I love. So I will watch Captive Wild Woman. I'll watch the Creeper. I'll watch Dynamo Dan. I'll watch all of them. Maybe just not as often as I watch like the Magnificent Seven movies, right? I think we need more children's toys for R-rated movies that they aren't old enough to watch. Yeah, like the Kenner Aliens toys. Like, jeez. Even when they first came out, I was like, should kids even be watching that movie? He says as a teenager at the time, who I bought the Kenner Aliens toys because I had seen Aliens and I liked it, but I was also old enough to have seen it by that point. Keeper was introduced in the Sherlock Holmes movie, The Pearl of Death. What is someone made? What if someone made toys of more obscure historical moments? Imagine if they made a Dreyfus Affair action figure set or a bag of army figures of the Mexican American War. I bet there are Mexican American War figures out there somewhere. Dreyfus Affair, I don't know. That's a little bit obscure. Creeper lookalike showed up at movie Rocketeer. Yep. Rando Hatan played Monsters Without Makeup. Yeah. Paula the Ape Woman is on my favorite monsters because she's an anomaly. Dumb idea that got a trilogy and then forgotten. Just a nasty mark in Universal's Near Perfect record. Yeah. Did you like the Benicio del Toro version of the Wolfman? I thought it was okay. I think it's probably the closest remake to hitting the mark. I didn't much care for how like the ending of it, the big twist in it and everything. Um, but as far as like cool Victorian setting and Benicio del Toro's already a Wolfman anyways in real life, so that worked out nicely. Um, yeah, like it's okay, but again, it's sort of like why do we need a remake? We have the original movie. Dynamo Dan represents that electricity is bad. I have to agree with the view whenever I have to pay my electricity bill. I just those alien toys, yeah. I said those same things about the aliens toys, and I was a primary school kid. Yeah. You can buy rubber ducks of the Mexican American War. Don't ask why or how I know about them. Well, I'm curious now. Um, um, yeah, I mean, there's merchandise for everything out there. There's at least something out there. Somebody's. I mean, I got one of my most ridiculous pieces of like merchandise that I have is that the bride and I were driving down to Yellowstone. So our first trip to Yellowstone. We were driving down there, and I had this weird flash of inspiration on the car rides we were driving down there. I told her, you know what? If we were to find like a teddy bear that looked like Teddy Roosevelt, I would absolutely buy it. Like no questions asked. 100% would buy. Thinking, oh, that's a ridiculous idea. That's so dumb. No, you. And then we get to Yellowstone, and we get to our first lodge, and right across from the parking lot from it is the general store, the souvenir shop. And guess what they sold in the souvenir shop? Teddy bears that look like Teddy Roosevelt. Like, oh my god. And so yes, I bought it. Because of course I did. Because I don't know how I got that sudden flash of divine inspiration that this thing existed, that I would want to buy it. But yeah, so if there's merchandise of a teddy bear that looks like Teddy Roosevelt, then there's gonna be Mexican American War or whatever. There probably is Dreyfus Affair merchandise out there somewhere. But did you ever see the Korean film Ape? I did see Ape. It was a movie that happened. I actually do enjoy the like 70s knockoff Kong movies more than like the 76 Kong. I bet I know what's coming. There he is. Thank you. There he is. Oh, it's the Sasquatch hiding in his pocket right there. But yeah, here we go. Teddy Roosevelt bought him at Yellowstone National Park. So there you go. Hey Teddy, come on. Did you see Alien Romulus? No, I have not seen an Alien movie since Alien Resurrection. I think that was the last Alien movie that I saw. It's like the fourth one. And then I did see Prometheus, which I thought was like meh. Kind of undoes the theme of Alien if it's like, oh no, these are actually like a bioengineered thing, not just like hostile nature out there. Let's go more outlandish. Industrial Revolution and Islamic Golden Age action figures. Sure, why not? Most Alien sequels are terrible. Yeah, true. Alien kind of peaked with Alien and Aliens. Actually, I have a teddy bear that looks like Teddy Roosevelt. Is it this one? There are only 2 good Aliens films. What about Queen Kong? Oh my god. I almost had an ad for a Trump teddy bear. Yeah, that's not surprising. Woodrow Wilson teddy bear? Sure, why not? Yep. Bully, he says. The only regret I have with this guy is that he's so big. If he was smaller, then I could actually take him like on our hiking trips and our trips to national parks and stuff, and actually like take Instagram photos with him and whatnot. He's too big to keep in a backpack, so unfortunately, he loses out in that respect. Queen Kong. I did see it. I did not much care for it. It's I you have like that 60s, 70s gender comedy, and it really does not resonate with me. Um, like The Great Race. Like, let's pick a good movie, The Great Race, right? Otherwise, a great movie. But that gender comedy in it is just so cringe and dated. Um, and I kind of felt the same way about Queen Kong. Like, it's just a little just too dated, too much a product of its era, too much a product of the disco era. Um, didn't much care for it. World's smallest Sasquatch, little Bigfoot. Um, yeah, I didn't really care for Queen Kong. I almost bought the toy though, the Medicom Queen Kong vinyl figure. I almost bought that. Saw it on Buyee. Then I decided, you know what? I didn't like the movie, so why am I going to buy the toy? Just because it's Queen Kong? Not that exact barrel, it's a bit different. Okay, nothing beats Man as the Hands of Fate. What is the worst movie I've ever seen? Oh my god. That's a challenging one because I would actually pick a movie. I would be inclined to pick a movie that other people would think is good and it has high production values, but I don't like it for this reason or that reason. 2014 Godzilla is like legit one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I hated that movie. Godzilla 2014 was awful, but everybody else seems to like it. 2001: A Space Odyssey, I think, is a ridiculous, overdone, self-indulgent thing. Visually stunning, yes, but just so freaking long, and it doesn't say anything. It's all spectacle, no substance to it. And I'm sticking to that. I will die on that hill. 2001 replaces substance with style. It's a theme about how evolution is driven. The emergence of consciousness is tied with the evolutionary struggle for survival. Okay, and what do you have to say about it? Because just pointing it out is just a theme. It's not actually saying anything. Anyways, it's another video sometime. Why 2001 is terrible. Um, there is a very obscure movie called The Girl from Calgary from 1932. The only reason I watched it is because I'm from Calgary. I'm a boy from Calgary. So I'm going to watch the movie called The Girl from Calgary. And it is terrible. It is an awful movie. Like, usually I'm pretty forgiving for old movies because I love just the era and the type of filmmaking. I love old movies, 1930s movies. This movie, 1932, is just awful. It's just terrible. It's just a bad movie all around. And I was so incensed at how bad this movie was. I scrolled down to the comments to see what other people said about it. And the only comment on this video was by me from a year before saying what a piece of crap this movie was. It was so terrible, I blocked it out. Ended up watching it again. Ugh. Not making that mistake again. I'll tell you that much. Okay. Battlefield Earth is getting pretty backstory. It's a big budget. Expose is getting tired. Can we end this? Oh no. I've been going for 2 hours here. We'll see if we'll wrap it up soon. Battlefield Earth is a tough watch. I've never seen it. There has to be an action figure of Suleiman the Magnificent. There's gotta be, there's definitely, statues and models of him and stuff like that, whether or not they're full action figures. But, I mean, there's, Richard III. There's gotta be Suleiman the Magnificent. Come on. They hardly show Godzilla. Yeah, oh my god. Queen Kong. Terrible as a comedy, but looking at it as what the guy in The Shining was seeing while going insane, barely tolerable. The voyage through the space warp goes on forever. Yeah, just puts you to sleep. Yeah. Yeah, the worst thing a movie can be is boring. That is the worst thing a movie can be. Especially if it's frustratingly boring, like Godzilla 2014. Where it's aggressively oh, something interesting is going to happen, so let's stop that and focus back on the boring family. And the guy has to get back to his family. I give a crap about that. Yeah, boring is the worst you can be. That's why I say like Plan 9 from Outer Space is like almost great. Like it's incredibly entertaining, and it's just it tries so hard and just pratfalls every time it tries something big, and that's incredibly entertaining. Um, it's not boring. At least the worst thing a movie can be is boring. Worst movie I've seen is Space Thunder Kids. Wavelength was also awful. You know that John Landis kept one of the ape costumes from 2001 and made schlock with it? I only found out schlock exists like the other day. So I didn't know that. Have you ever seen The Black Hole? I have seen The Black Hole. The Black Hole was a fairly unnecessary remake of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Excellent set design, though. Like, the ship is amazing. And the bridge, like Peter Ellenshaw's work on the bridge, matte painting and design and stuff, like, oh, beautiful. Black Hole is a visually striking movie, but the story is just 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is a better version of it. So, there you go. I don't think Black Hole is the worst. It's not the worst. I've seen way worse Disney movies than Black Hole. That's for sure. But yeah, it's not a great movie either. Schlockentrog. Yeah. Well, now I think Expose cursed us with coming to an end here. We have been going at it for 2 hours and a bit, so and covered everything from religion and philosophy to American politics to worst movies. As a Christian, what are your thoughts on the finale of The Black Hole? Oh, that's the trope, right? I think Event Horizon did it better. Like, um, yeah, the whole idea of like, a black hole or a warp gate or whatever opening a hole to hell. I mean, it's not how you get there. It's not like hell is another dimension, right? It's not really how we conceptualize it. I mean, some people do, but it's not really proper Christian theology to think of hell as like this just alternate dimension. Hell is a state of alienation from God, experienced sort of in a dim way here in this world, but then in the afterlife is where you really feel it. And even then, there's debates about whether or not hell even exists in the sense that most people think of it as existing. But I mean, it's scary as hell, so to speak. Pardon the pun, excuse me. But the idea of like opening a gate to hell is terrifying. Um, so Black Hole is an example of that. I said Event Horizon is like I can't watch Event Horizon. I've seen it once, maybe twice, and it just gets me because it's too close to home, right? Um, it's just especially like that scene where it shows the video of what happened on the ship when they went to hell. Oh God! Oh no! Ugh. I can't. No. So like I'm not a Christian because I'm afraid of hell. That's an urban legend. But very few Christians who are only Christians because they're afraid of hell. But man, if there's any movie gonna make me afraid of hell, that would be it. And I have not ever seen Hellraiser. I do not care to see Hellraiser. I do not want to see Hellraiser. That is a subject I do not want in my head. It is sort of I would like to keep hell out of my head as much as possible. And yeah, Event Horizon. No thanks. But very effective. Event Horizon is a good movie. It's just the subject matter it hits too close to home. I can't do it. Can't do it. There's a movie that's literally just 10 hours of paint drying. The film was 10 hours of paint drying. There's also Andy Warhol's Empire, which is just like 10 hours or 14 hours, something like that, of just a shot of the Empire State Building. Oh, Andy, you scamp. Don't forget, Dinosaur Bones is the basis for Dragons and Giants. Yeah, we did cover that. Yeah. What is the most mid movie you've ever seen? Like completely in the middle, 50% is good, 50% bad. Oh, God. Most mid movie I've seen. Anything with The Rock. Anything with The Rock is mid. And the reason I know that is because my mother-in-law, she like The Rock was her favorite actor. So like I've even seen like Skyscraper. So that was pretty mid. That was like just a lukewarm movie. Didn't do anything. Most Christians who are afraid of hell stop being Christians. Yeah, yeah, that seems to be the way to that people reconcile that is you can't live with that, right? You can't live with that terror, and you shouldn't. Uh like you should be a Christian because of Jesus, not because you're afraid of hell. You can't sustain fear of hell. Did you ever see any of the movies? I did see the movies about the Ewoks. Yes. Um, Battle for Endor is nominally better, but I when they popped up on Disney Plus, we watched them, and God, they're so much worse than I remember them as a kid. My favorite version of Ewoks is the cartoon. In fact, when you mention Ewoks, that's what pops into my head first. I don't think of Return of the Jedi, and I don't think of the TV movies. I think of the cartoon first, and then Return of the Jedi. And I like the Ewoks. I was like the perfect age for the Ewoks to be awesome. So I like Ewoks, but those movies are pretty abysmal. They are so okay. You know, most people don't think of like George Lucas as like a as an artist who developed over time, and but he does, right? And so you know, after Star Wars ended, he kind of went into this weird phase of wanting to do like these sort of magic fantasy movies. And so that's where Willow comes from. And then it's most of the same like cast and crew and stuff that made Willow also made these Ewoks movies. And that's what those Ewoks movies are. They're not really Star Wars movies, they're fantasy movies that just take place in the Star Wars universe using these Ewok characters that first were made for Return of the Jedi. But they're like fantasy movies like Willow, and they're from that phase of sort of George Lucas as an artist. Um, so I guess you can look at them in an interesting way that way, but they're not very good movies on their own. I just noticed Batman is partying with Phantom of the Opera. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got uh, this isn't just Universal Monsters up here, right? Like I've got there's Mars Attacks Martian right there. There's Flash Gordon right there, and above the Bride, kind of directed around here. That's Golden Age Superman, McFarlane multiverse figure, and then yeah, behind the Phantom is the McFarlane multiverse Batman figure. And I also have like a Mythic Legion skeleton hiding back in there too. Um, yeah, I love Mythic Legions. I wish I could justify buying them. They're so expensive, but they're so good. Um, yeah, and when they come out with a Golden Age Wonder Woman, I'm getting her too. Um, they're also making the Fleischer Superman figure, so I'm a bit torn because I have Golden Age Superman already. But like the Fleischer Superman, that's like the cartoon. That's the Golden Age Superman cartoon. So I kind of want him more, and to fit in with the other movie monsters here, right? So I don't know how I'm gonna reconcile that. If I probably will. I probably will just impulse buy him when he shows up at like GameStop. But yeah, then I'll have two Supermans, and I don't want to do them. But I also want to get the Ardeth Bay Mummy, even though I already have like Mummy hiding over there. I also want to get the Ardeth Bay Mummy figure. That said, with the exchange rate and the tariffs, good lord, that figure's going to be like $100. Um, which is the best Christian movie? My vote goes to the Ten Commandments. My knee-jerk answer to uh, favorite Christian movie is Dracula. But if you want like a favorite religious movie, I would have to say it would either be the 1923 version of the Ten Commandments, which is also by Cecil B. DeMille, or The Robe. The Robe is a very good movie, even better book as well. The Robe is a good one. It stars Richard Burton and Victor Mature. The Ten Communists. Cecil B. DeMille also made Samson and Delilah. Yeah. Is the Ugly Shin? No, I got rid of Ugly Shin. Ugly Shin has been sold. I had to make room for other toys, so I got rid of Ugly Shin. Unfortunately, sadly, but I had to make room. So Ugly Shin is gone, alas. That's funny, Rex. Expose is on the edge of going to sleep. Please just end this. Okay. Ten Commandments is actually a remake. Yep. DeMille. Yeah, the first version of Ten Commandments was in 1923, and it's also a very good film. The first third of it is actually the story of the Exodus. The last two thirds is actually like a modern morality play, modern morality tale, and it's really good. It's actually like a positive portrayal of Christianity. Um, it's one of the few examples I can think of that's actually like a positive movie about Christianity. No, not Ugly Shin. Yeah, I know. There is a special joy in collecting bad Godzilla toys. And Ugly Shin made me laugh, but no, I had to make room, and he was just sitting in a box. So I'm like, you know what? It's time to let him go. So I did, alas. All right, well, in the interest of expose not dying on us, we should, I guess, end this. So I will just do the usual, I have seen Birth of a Nation. um, DreamWorks 10 Commandments. You know what? Maybe we should do an Easter stream or something like that and talk about actual religious movies. I did like Prince of Egypt, though. Prince of Egypt was very good, if a little bit vague in terms of theology. All right, so obviously we'll be doing that again. We'll be doing the Godzilla Battle Line stream sometime. And then also, this one is coming up. I'm working on this one right now. Because in a Disney mood. So why Disney's Sleeping Beauty is so great. That one is coming up. So that will probably be the next one I'll actually do, unless I do one on these Godzilla Hanafuda cards. But there we go. That's what's coming up next. Expose. You can finally go to bed, get some sleep, etc. Easter stream sounds awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's what, April. So we'll do Monster Kid Corey's tent revival tour. I don't know, something. Monster Kid Corey's congregation. But yeah, so there we go. And thanks for joining me, unboxing all of this fun stuff here. Mothra says bye. Yada yada yada. Kong also says bye. See you guys. So long. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, I mentioned that not many people mention Sleeping Beauty. So, anyways, good night.